It's me. So, a while back, I recorded a tutorial called Hack the Rack Signal Flow Like a Pro. And in it, I showed you how to make this really cool delay. Well, I have since updated that delay, and this tutorial will be showing you the Q delay. I would get a text right now. Take two. This tutorial will show you how I made the Q delay version 2. Okay, let's get started. Real quick, if you haven't had the chance to, please like, subscribe, comment, do all those internet things. Tell me if there's something you want to see below in the comments. Just utilize me. Okay, so let's get started. This should be a pretty straightforward one. I have a vocal here. It sounds like this.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever.
That was loud.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
Cool. So, fun vocal. I grabbed it off Splice. So here's the old. I will show you the old Quasar delay in all of its former glory. Well, it's still awesome delay. But and if you haven't had a chance to, if you have seen the old tutorial, the old tutorial, or any of my other old tutorials, and I walk you through making patches and all that, you can get all of those from my website. Just become a member. Yeah. Link below, of course. So here.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
So this is a really cool delay. It features all the same things. So the new delay is this plus. And it's basically a stereo delay where you can control the filter. So far, pretty standard. Also, it has reverb, which is what makes it a little extra spicy, and the automatic ducking that I put in with this sidechain compressing, the sidechain compressors that are involved. These pulverizers are the filters. So that's the setup for the first one. And it sounds great. I routed up these macros as well.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting.
You get the idea. Now let's take a look. Once again, great delay. I still reach for it when I want this type of delay. But the new one has a little extra spice added. So let's check it. Boom. Oh, yeah. That's sassy. Okay, so here's the difference is I changed the, well, let's hear what she sounds like.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
I changed up the settings of the delay. You can hear it, it's a little bit more saucy. I don't know how to describe it.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
So it sounds a little bit better now. The settings are a little bit more fine-tuned. It sounds a little spacier. I changed up the macros. Now instead of you bringing in the delay taps, the stereo delays individually, I have one macro, and you can see these knobs moving here. One macro that brings both the delays in. I had to simplify what each macro does because I wanted to make more macros, kind of. So this brings in the delay tones, the delay taps. So
Ever
without
getting
it, you're dry.
older, I ain't ever getting older. I ain't.
Here, I'll turn. I added power buttons for each kind of parameter that you can change in the macros. So I'll turn everything off, but just the reverbs.
Ever getting older.
But the delays, sorry. I'll turn everything off but the delay signal. So this is just straight delays.
Ever getting older, I ain't. Ever getting older, I ain't.
And then the way I set this up, we'll go kind of left to right. So the way I set this up, I put the delays at the top. I feel like that's the first thing you'll want to tweak. And they're also the first thing in the signal chain, just so you know. So the delay, the signal chain goes from the dry signal to the delays. Not directly to the delays, it actually goes to this mixer first, and then it actually goes to this spider, which gets routed to this mixer, and then out to the delays. But for all intents and purposes, you're delaying the signal
Ever
first.
getting older.
Sorry, I talked over myself. For all intents and purposes, you're delaying the signal first. That's what you need to keep in mind. Okay. So the delay is the first thing that you'll want to tweak. So I put it at the top. And then the next thing, if we're going from left to right with the macros, is the tone. Now, it's not the next thing in the signal flow here, but I actually changed the order up on the signal flow. It actually does go from the delay lines straight to the filters, which are these two pulverizers. And they're set to bandpass filters. So if you watch me turn this tone knob, it turns the filter for both. You probably won't be able to see the bottom one, but you get the idea. So you're delaying the signal.
Ever getting older, I ain't.
Then
Ever getting.
you're going to add this to control its tone, its EQ.
Older, I ain't. Ever getting older.
Usually you'd use this to make it a bit darker so that the sibilance doesn't stand out, like especially in a vocal. Okay, so that's tone. Pretty straightforward.
Ever getting older, I ain't.
And I'm going to skip this third one. This is the latest edition, but I'm going to skip it so we can highlight it. Reverb is the next thing, and it's pretty straightforward. It's also the second thing in the chain. So if you just slap it on, you just slap it on and use it as it is. But if you want to get in there, you get in there. And it's kind of laid out so that you're going to get in there in the order that you should. So the next thing that you probably will want to tweak will be the reverb. And basically all you're going to do is change the size or the decay amount. And then the dry wet is actually what's being modulated by this macro. So pretty straightforward. They're simple delay lines. Or simple reverb lines. I'm going to do that 100 times, it seems like. Okay. The next thing, the thing that makes this delay cooler than before, is this modulation parameter. I got this idea, or I've been seeing this a lot with producers when I see their tutorials. They reach for a plugin called Retro Color, or RC20. And it's basically a modulation device that recreates old modulation. What I mean is, so like one that they would reach for all the time is the tape modulation. And it sounds like what happens when you use a tape delay is that the delay taps go out of pitch as well as, so they're delaying the line, but because of the nature of tape, they warble out of pitch. So that's something that people recreate a lot in order to give something that analog feel, that old school vibe. That real feel. So I needed to find a way to recreate that using stock plugins in Reason to deliver it to you guys, really, and to be able to use it easily in my own sessions as well. So the modulation is being emulated here by these two Neptunes. So the signal is going through the Neptunes. I don't have the pitch. The way I did this is it's not automatically pitch adjusting. You just turn that off. It's not, the transpose isn't on, and the formant shift isn't on. Is it not on? Yeah, the formant shift isn't on either, although it could be. Anyway, what I'm using here though is actually the pitch bend. So I set the range to be only about three semitones. So at its maximum, she's only going to bend by 3 semitones, and at its maximum here, she's only going to bend by -3 semitones. And the way the way I have it routed is with these pulsars. So these pulsars are running their LFOs. You can set the rate, and I have a CV cable making the control voltage from the LFO control the pitch bend in the Neptunes. So the LFO is running, her voice is going through the Neptunes, the Neptune pitch adjusters, and the LFO is moving that pitch bend wheel so that her voice will modulate. I hope that makes sense. Okay, so we'll keep the dry muted, and then we'll play with the modulation so that you can hear it. Here, I'll turn the compressor, I'll move the threshold all the way up so that the reason why the delay taps are going to raise and lower in volume because of the automatic ducking. Which is super helpful in the mix, but not super helpful for showing you this, so I'm just going to do this.
Ever getting older, ever getting older, ever getting older.
My bad, I actually had to keep some threshold in because the way I have this routed is actually that the gain reduction, it's kind of complicated, but the gain reduction is actually telling Pulsar's envelope when to generate, so that basically, because it's using Pulsar's envelope to generate instead of just Pulsar just running its LFO, it kind of re-triggers every time she sings. And also you can use that to control when it comes in here, the attack. Sorry, I couldn't find it. You can kind of make it fade in the modulation. It doesn't matter. But my point is, here's the modulation.
Ever getting
So it sounds crazy at high volumes, and don't forget we don't have the dry in anymore.
Ever getting older, ever getting older.
But at lower levels, let's make a nice patch here.
Ever getting older. Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
Okay, so that sounds pretty nice on its own. Let's add some modulation in a realistic way.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
So I tend to, when I add modulation, I tend to add more reverb to kind of smear the modulation a bit more, because otherwise it can start to sound like, oh, those are just the wrong pitches. But I hope you can hear how much more spicy the modulation makes the reverbs, or the delays, both really.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
They're cool without the modulation. I'll turn the modulation on again and let that tail at the end ring out, just so you can hear that.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
You can hear them really interacting with each other. One sounds like, without the modulation, you sound like you're in a dark cave, but it's like there's nothing in it, or there's nothing interesting about it. I don't know if that really makes sense. It's just dark and big. But with the modulation, it sounds like there's more going on. I don't know how to describe it, but maybe just behind that corner, there's going to be something else. I don't know. It's like you're on more of a delay journey. Jesus. As you can see, that modulation adds a lot of flavor.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
Let's go crazy.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
Tasty. So yeah, that's pretty much it. There's not much more to it. It's a very usable delay with the macros lined up and ready to go, so you can slap it on. It sounds great. We'll just delete it. It sounds great if you just slap it on and do a couple of knob turns.
Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting.
I have the modulation in a pretty good spot for you to just turn it on.
Older. Ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older, I ain't ever getting older.
Anyway, there it is. The Q delay version 2. You can get it, become a member on my website. You can download it. This is for you guys. I actually have fun making these. And it's really cool to think about, the idea that this might help one of you out there make your epic track. So get it, the Q delay. If you haven't had the chance to yet, hit that subscribe button, do all those things, give me those internet points. Grab this delay, there's just, it's getting great. What's in the cornucopia that lies behind the members area of my site. I just keep adding stuff as we go. So yeah, I'll see you guys next time.